One of the most common questions anyone can ask is why? I'm sure all the parents out there hear it countless times a day from your kids. And as adults, we're not much better. How many times have you asked, why should I exercise? Why should I eat healthy? The American Heart Association says life is why. The AHA is embracing Nutrition Month with a family health challenge. And this week's focus is all about taste and sodium. So to help us all, I'm joined by Dr. BJ Hicks, a neurologist and board member with the Heart Association, as well as Jenny Schroeds, a registered dietitian with Local Matters. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Dr. Hicks, I'm going to start with you. We're talking about sodium. We know that adults eat well more than we're supposed to, which Jenny will kind of give us a sad example coming up next. But we want to talk about what that does to our bodies, because we may not realize the damage it's doing.
So a lot of people may understand that high sodium leads to high blood pressure. The problem is no one really understands why. What happens is the sodium goes into our bloodstream and it pulls water away and into the actual blood vessel. The blood vessel gets bigger and then blood flow increases, which increases your blood pressure. And that is a #1 modifiable risk factor, meaning something that we can do to make sure that we lower our blood pressure. Because blood pressure is such a big cause of heart disease and stroke, which are big reasons why we pass away prematurely.
And that obviously is happening to a lot of adults, and kids can be impacted by this too, which I think is important because anymore these days, there's a lot more processed foods in their diets.
We have become a faster nation at large, and we don't always get the type of well-prepared foods, and we rely heavily on processed foods. And sadly, preservatives, and namely sodium, are big parts of those types of foods that we would never even imagine have high amounts of sodium. And we're giving this type of diet to our younger kids, and they carry that forward, and unfortunately, up to 90% of all adults in their lifetime can develop high blood pressure. And the sad part about it is it doesn't hurt. It's what we call in medicine the silent killer.
And what is also sad is it's preventable. I mean, as you mentioned, eat less sodium, right? These things don't happen.
Absolutely. If a lot of patients tell me all the time they want to get off the medications. Diet is a great way to try to do that for your blood pressure.
All right, Jenny, we know we're taking in too much salt. I want you, though, to show us how much salt we are actually supposed to be eating on a daily basis.
Okay, I'll show you.
This is the most depressing part of this, and I think a good reality check for us.
It is a good reality check. The American Heart Association recommends that we stay below 1,500 milligrams. It sounds like a big number.
Sure.
But it's not, and I'll put it into perspective for you. I have my teaspoons here. This is a teaspoon measure, not a tablespoon,
right.
A teaspoon. And that holds 2,400 milligrams of sodium. So you need less than 3/4 of this in a day, according to the American Heart Association.
And looking at the foods that are on the plates in front of you, I would imagine that in most of those, you're going to see that, if not more, right?
Right, and I brought some moderate choices here. If we look at the hamburger, most of the small hamburgers you'll get at fast food are going to be at least 500 milligrams of sodium. If you add a small fry to that, you're over 1,000. You're probably around 1,200 milligrams of sodium. And so compare that meal with your daily 1,500 milligrams, you can see where very quickly you go over. And most Americans are eating upwards 3,000 and more milligrams of sodium a day. Our biggest offenders, fast food.
For sure.
For sure. So we've got some pizza here. This little piece of pizza has about 650 milligrams of sodium. The good thing about it is that if you get that frozen in your grocery store, there's a food label and it'll tell you exactly how much sodium is in it.
So let's talk about some options.
Okay.
Some things we can swap these out for. What do you think is kind of easy for us to do?
I don't know about easy, but you really have to be committed to good health. And cooking at home, as Dr. Hicks mentioned, is the best thing to do because you can control the amount of sodium. So some real specific tips would be if you have a recipe, Don't put all the sodium, all the salt in there. Put half the salt, or start with nothing and then add a little bit, a quarter teaspoon at the time, and taste it. Instead of using salt, use herbs and spices. If you like things spicy, use cayenne pepper. There are lots of herb mixtures out there that you can get that have garlic and onion and oregano and basil. And just go down the spice aisle and pick some things out and try them.
And you might find out that you don't need as much salt to make something taste good.
Yes.
But we're just getting so used to it. That's the unfortunate problem.
And that's exactly it. We're getting used to it, and that means it's a habit. So the more salt you eat, the more you want. It takes about 6 weeks to start to break a habit. So if you go cold turkey and don't use that salt shaker and cut down at home, then in about 6 weeks when you go out and have French fries or pizza or a burger, you're going to notice the difference.
All right, great advice. The American Heart Association as well. Tons of resources. Heart.org/healthierkids, a great resource for you today. So Dr. Hicks, Jenny, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.